Hello and welcome to Summer from Movies You Miss podcast.
Summertime and the living's easy.
That's a really good song.
Isn't it? It's great. I love it. It's a great summer song. I like to start out most of my days with that song, really. Puts me in a great mood.
I mean, anything off that album is amazing from Sublime.
Absolutely true.
How you doing today, John?
Pretty good. I wish I was as high as everybody in the movie we're about to discuss, but
both movies.
Otherwise I am doing pretty well because I do recall being high every time I watched both of these movies over the last several years. So that's keeping me in good spirits. Even though I am sober today, I feel great and I love these movies. I'm excited to get into both of them. How are you today, V?
All right.
I figured as much. And if that's no clue, well, there's your clue.
Many of you, I'm sure, will know what my pick is now since I've said that, but that's for a little bit later in the episode. Welcome, everyone, to Movies You Miss podcast. We are two industry veterans who love to recommend movies to you without spoiling them. We've also been friends for quite some time, and we're really excited for you to join us today.
We've been friends for under 420 months.
We're getting there, though, to that number.
We are.
But until then, we can talk about these films and also films that we've seen in the movie theaters or on streaming this week.
Oh, yes, let's do that.
And I know you saw a bunch of new movies this week, so you want to dive right in?
All right, I saw 4 new movies, 3 in theaters, 1 on streaming. I will start with the movie that I liked the least, like I like to do. I went and saw Bring Her Back, which is the next movie from the two guys that did the movie Talk to Me a few years ago.
Oh, yes, another horror movie.
Yeah, it's a movie. I wouldn't necessarily call it a horror movie. There really wasn't anything scary. I am completely convinced that these two are trying to do nothing but shock the audience, and it fell very flat. Sally Hawkins was great. She normally plays very lovable characters, but this time she did not, and she was great. The kids were good. There just was so many plot holes and moments where it was like, wait a minute, what? Hang on. It just kind of, I give it like a solid C. I will probably never watch it again. Same with Talk to Me.
Oh, bummer.
It is what it is. I'm glad I saw it. You know, I almost wrote them off completely, but it's definitely worth seeing if you like to Talk to Me. I would say it's definitely more of a streamable movie, though.
Okay.
I'll start with the streaming movie next because these last 3 that I saw I enjoyed very much. I watched the new David Trachtenberg film Predator: Killer of Killers.
Oh my God, that's out.
Yes, it came out on Friday.
Awesome. And what'd you think?
Awesome. So badass. Killer, no pun intended. Certainly a badass movie. It is really, really fun. The animation is so awesome, and it is very brutal like any other Predator movie. And David Trachtenberg, if you guys are unaware, he directed Prey, which was one of my picks in the past with Amber Midthunder.
Oh, such a badass film.
Yes, it is, and this one is also badass. The next film I saw, honestly, I'm kind of going back and forth with which one I enjoyed the most, so I'm just going to drop this one because this is going to surprise a lot of people. I took my wife to see the new Wes Anderson movie starring Benicio del Toro, The Phoenician Scheme.
Oh my God, I'm shocked.
I am too. I fucking loved it. It is fantastic. It is hilarious. It is completely different than anything he's done story-wise. It's very much similar color scheme and camera work and whatnot, but it is 2 very enthusiastic thumbs up, and Amy loved it as well. And right when we left the theater, she said, all right, we'll own that one.
Awesome.
Yes. And the last movie, and the first movie, actually, out of the entire 4 that I saw, I went Friday morning to see the new Ana de Armas John Wick spinoff, Ballerina.
Oh, yes. I definitely want to see it. I'm just not a huge Ana de Armas fan.
I know, you're not. And I am slowly coming around to her. I think I started to like her a little bit more after I rewatched Blade Runner 2049. But this movie is pretty killer, super badass stunts. Ana de Armas is great. So is Ian McShane. I really enjoyed it. There's a sequence in a restaurant towards the hour into the movie that is so awesome. It is brutal. Highly recommend if you are a John Wick fan and an Ana de Armas fan. It is a really, really fun time.
Good. Wait.
Yes.
I thought you told me you watched Black Bag this week.
Oh, gosh, I guess I've seen 5 movies then. Yes. I completely forgot, and now I actually feel terrible. But yes, I did watch Black Bag with Cate Blanchett and Fassbender, directed by Steven Soderbergh, and I absolutely loved that movie too. I texted my parents right after and said, you guys would love this movie. It's so awesome. Black Bag was super badass. Right when it ended, round of applause in my theater and was like, that was bitchin'. That was a really, really good movie.
Yeah.
So I guess it was a pretty good week of movies, minus
was.
Bring Her Back, but it still wasn't like Bring Her Back completely just pissed me off. It was just kind of a meh movie. So 5 movies over the last week, and all were enjoyable to an extent. But yeah, Black
Great.
Bag, Phoenician Scheme, Ballerina, and Predator, Killer of Killers were the highlights of the 5.
Well, those sound like great movies. I can't wait to watch some of them.
Oh, I know. I can't wait for you to see some of them as well.
So glad you finally watched Black Bag, though. Oh my God.
Me too. Yes, it took me a while. I did finally watch it. It was great. You were completely right on that one.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And V, did you see anything in theaters or on streaming this last week?
I did. I saw one movie on streaming this week, and now my week seems super lame compared to you because not only did I only watch one movie, but it also sucked. So it was a giant waste of my time. It was really disappointing. It's the new movie called Havoc. It also stars Timothy Olyphant as well.
Oh, wow.
I was really excited for this film, not only because it stars Tom Hardy, but also because it was written and directed by Gareth Evans, who also wrote and directed The Raid Redemption and The Raid 2, which are fantastic action films. The Raid series are incredible. Highly recommend. They're probably going to be on this show at some point, actually. But yes,
you're right, they are.
This felt like a direct-to-DVD cop movie that, like Mel Gibson would have done or Bruce Willis would have done at the end of his career. Just really shitty, really predictable, very cheesy dialogue. Every single action scene was CGI, I guess because they couldn't afford to do car chases or something. But none of the stunts that were larger scale stunts were real. They were all CGI done. And the movie was just shitty. I debated turning it off for the last 40 minutes of it, actually. It was that bad.
Oh, wow.
I'm so disappointed. Tom Hardy, I felt like Tom Hardy should be embarrassed to be in this film because I think he's a much higher caliber actor than this. Timothy Olyphant, I didn't feel that way as much, only because A, he didn't star in the film, but B, he chewed up every single scene he was in. He was still so entertaining in this movie, and so I couldn't fault him as much because he was the best part of the whole film. But yeah, Havoc on Netflix, I know myself, you, and my sister Shannon had been really excited about this movie coming out. Do not watch it. It sucked.
All right. I will not watch it.
All right. Well, those are the films we saw in theaters or on streaming this week.
Yes.
Good week for you, at least.
Absolutely.
All right. Let's get into our movies today. The theme being a day in the life of a stoner.
Yes. Oh, such good days back when I was a massive stoner. High-functioning stoner indeed I was.
I mean, you might think you were high-functioning.
Oh, no, I know I totally was, because everybody told me I was. That's why I did what I did. I was in the entertainment industry, just like every other stoner and drug addict.
I've smoked weed a few times, and every single time I did it, it gave me heart palpitations. It completely triggered my arrhythmia, and so I never, ever did it again.
Oh, wow. I was a daily smoker from the age of 24 to about 38.
So,
literally every day.
Until 3 days ago is what you're saying.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Well, then I'm glad you're going first this week so you can introduce this theme to our audience.
Me too. I'm excited. It's been a long time, actually, since I've seen my pick, so it was a really fun revisit, and I'm excited to hear what you think also, because I know you haven't seen my pick in quite some time either.
Exactly. So, yes, let's get into it. I'm excited to talk about it.
Awesome. Let's jump right in. This film comes to us from the year 2008. I've done that year several times on this podcast with Tropic Thunder, Bolt, and V's favorite pick of mine of Hamlet 2.
Oh, dear God. Stop reminding me of that atrocity.
I shan't and will never forget.
Okay, but I like your use of Old English.
Yes. All right, sparking up that cross joint. Let's jump into this film from 2008. If that's not a clue, and you didn't listen to last week's episode, which actually we didn't even give you a hint last week because V and I both got it wrong. That's why it didn't get included in last week's episode.
We screwed up the schedule.
Totally. And none of us were high. So let's get into it. This film story comes to us from Seth Rogen, Evan Goldberg, and Judd Apatow. Screenplay by Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg. This film is directed by David Gordon Green. Probably one of his last good movies because he went into the horror realm and he is a terrible horror movie director.
Yes, he should have just stuck with this genre instead.
He really should have, because I've seen documentaries of him making comedy, and they're great, and the way that he directs is awesome, and everybody really kind of just enjoys working with the guy. I don't know if that's the case on the horror movies, because I never really cared to go any farther than having wasted my time with watching The Exorcist Believer or Halloween Kills or whatever the last Halloween movie was. Anyway, we're not here to really discuss David Gordon Green in too much depth, other than the fact that he directed this film. Pineapple Express was his first big one that I saw. A couple of years later, he did another movie with James Franco and Danny McBride called Your Highness. Natalie Portman is also in that film, as is Zooey Deschanel. That movie is awful, but also at the same time very funny. I ended up going to an early screening of Your Highness with a friend of mine around the summer of 2010, and we were part of the focus group for that movie. And then same year, he dropped a movie called The Sitter with Jonah Hill. A couple years after that, he dropped Prince Avalanche. He directed a couple of Eastbound and Down episodes. He's also directed a couple episodes of The Righteous Gemstones. So he's got some good comedy background. And that's what I'm saying. He should have just stuck with that and not tried the horror genre out. Same with Danny McBride, who is also in this movie. He plays Red. Probably one of my favorite Danny McBride roles. So this film, like I had mentioned, stars James Franco. Danny McBride also stars Seth Rogen, Gary Cole, Rosie Perez, Kevin Corrigan, Craig Robinson, and a whole handful of other people, including Ed Begley Jr. in a very small role, but a very hilarious role, Nora Dunn as well, and the disgraced Amber Heard. Amber Heard plays Angie, Seth Rogen's girlfriend in this movie. Originally, Olivia Thorne.
That was Amber Heard?
Yeah, that was Amber Heard.
Holy shit, I never even put that together because she was so young.
Oh, yeah. One of her bigger roles early on in her career. Olivia Thirby was originally cast as Angie, but she was replaced after rehearsals and everything, which is kind of too bad because I do like Olivia Thirby. As much as I don't like Juno, I liked her in that movie, and she was great in Dread with Carl Urban from a couple years back as well.
Mm-hmm.
So Pineapple Express, let's get into the breakdown of this stoner comedy. This movie opens up with us meeting Dale Denton. Dale Denton is a process server, which means he goes and subpoenas people that are avoiding the judicial system. He's also a massive stoner and a big talk radio fan. So we are introduced to him listening to talk radio and calling in about how marijuana needs to be legal, all this stuff. This is, again, shot in 2007, 2008, when in California and across the United States, a lot of dispensaries were popping up for medicinal marijuana use. I'm completely on board with his whole speech, how he's talking about everybody likes smoking weed. It's, well, you know what, why not? Let's just let Dale Denton talk about it.
Hey, this is Sam. Good morning. Welcome to KRAD. You know, I think that last caller had some undeniable points, but right now we're going to get to the next caller, Dale Denton.
Hey, Sam. Big, huge fan. First-time caller. Here's my piece.
All right.
If marijuana is not legal within the next 5 years, I have no faith left in humanity, period. Everyone likes smoking weed. They have for thousands of years. They're not going to stop anytime soon. You know, it makes everything better. It makes food taste better. It makes music better. It makes sex feel better, for God's sakes. It makes shitty movies better, you know?
Down to Electric Avenue, and then we'll take it higher.
Which is great that he says all this, because 8 years later, it becomes fully legal in the state of California, where this film was actually shot. This film was shot all over the San Fernando Valley and North Hollywood. I was living just a street over from the scene where they shoot the awesome car chase sequence between both Dale and Saul and Rosie Perez in this movie.
That is such a good car chase sequence for a comedy.
It really is. So a little bit more about the breakdown of this movie. Dale is now starting to run out of weed. He wants to pick up a little bit more, so he calls his dealer Saul. Saul, played by James Franco, quite fantastically, if I might add.
Yes.
Unfortunately, things have gone south between both of them. And before Dale actually gets Saul on the phone, as he's breaking down his piece about marijuana legalization, he starts talking about how drug dealers start to think that they're your friend, and it's very odd being in a drug dealer's house because they want to hang out and they want to talk and get to know you. You just want to buy your weed and get the fuck out of there. You don't really care who this person is. And I'll kind of push back on that a little bit. I had a couple of weed dealers in Northridge that I actually really did enjoy hanging out with, that I met when I would go party at CSUN with some friends of mine, and this guy guy became my weed dealer for up to about 2 years, and he always hooked me up. I would go in for a bag of $10 worth of weed. He'd give me a $20 bag worth, but only charge me 10. So every now and then, people are like, oh yeah, totally, drug dealers are weird. Now, I can see that in the crack and the meth and the heroin
Harder
world,
drugs,
maybe. Yeah, but weed, come on. If you're buying weed from a guy, you're going to sit there and smoke a joint and talk, or at least listen to some music before you take off, which kind of happens in this. So Dale finds this cross joint, and Saul's kind of like, hey man, let's smoke this together. Dale really wants to get the fuck out of there because of his whole mindset of, I don't want to be friends with my drug dealer. They smoke this thing, they get super baked, and Dale's got to go and drop off a new subpoena to somebody named Ted Jones. And Saul knows the name because he is the main guy, and he's got this new weed called Pineapple Express. And this is one of my favorite scenes in the movie, on top of pretty much the entire movie. But this is when we're introduced to Pineapple Express.
Okay.
Cool.
Brass tacks.
Yes.
Just got a shipment of the dopest dope I've ever smoked. Hands down, dopest dope I've ever smoked. Right
Not
here.
better than the Blue Oyster weed. It can't be.
My friend,
I can't handle better than
this is like if that Blue Oyster shit met that Afghan Kush I had, and they had a baby, and then meanwhile, that crazy Northern Light stuff I had, and the super red espresso snowflake met and had a baby, and by some miracle, those two babies met and fucked. This would be the shit that they birthed.
that. Wow.
Yes.
This is the product of baby fucking.
Smell it.
Okay.
Smell it. Enjoy. It's like God's vagina.
Oh.
What, do you want to bathe in it?
I just want to live in here.
Yes, you want to be it?
Oh my God. I just want to shove it up my nose and have that smell all day. That's amazing.
Shove
It's
it anywhere you like.
Beautiful. What's it called?
Pineapple Express.
Pineapple Express.
Yes, it's this thing like El Nino, this airflow that comes from Hawaii and Canada, and it gets the dirt, mixes it in with the weed in a very special way. It's actually very scientific. I won't go into it right now, but I am the only guy in the whole city that has it.
So that line, God's vagina, was originally said by Seth Rogen, and James Franco during a take said, dude, don't say that, it's not funny. So what happens? James Franco uses the line because he thinks it's funny. And honestly, I think it actually works better as Saul saying it
agree.
over Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
And oddly enough, when I was reading the behind the scenes of this movie, Seth wrote the part of Saul for him and wrote the part of Dale for James Franco. So, of course, what happens in the read-through, everybody's like, why doesn't James just play Saul? They switch it up, and here we now have Pineapple Express. And I just don't know if I believe this. James Franco has gone on record to say that he never smoked weed. He was never a pothead. He never even smoked with Seth, even though they've been friends for 20-plus years. I just don't buy it, truthfully.
He's on something in a lot of interviews I've seen. If it's not weed, it's something else.
I
Then.
know. That's what I'm saying. Especially when he hosted the Oscars with Anne Hathaway.
the
His
first
eyes were at
thought I
half fucking mast
thought of,
the
too.
entire time.
Maybe he
so
was
if he's
on
just trying to play
pills.
into his character, yeah, who knows? I don't know.
God.
But I just don't believe that James Franco never smoked weed.
I love that the James Franco Anne Hathaway hosting gig has been deleted from our collective consciousness.
Oh, yeah, yeah. The only thing I remember is when James Franco came out dressed as Marilyn Monroe.
Yes,
and that's
that's the
kind
only
of
thing I
the
remember,
only
too.
part I remember. And Anne Hathaway trying to keep the energy up. She kept like clapping for people and like
she was-
hooting and hollering them on. I didn't hate them, but I also kind of grew to hate that Oscar ceremony.
She was trying so hard, and he just abandoned her on stage so many
Yeah,
times.
yeah.
It was so shitty.
Because he was high.
Yes, totally.
So Dale tells Saul that he's got to go drop this thing off to Ted Jones. This is when Saul kind of drops a little bit of exposition about the fact that Ted is the guy. He knows all this stuff about weed. He knows how to grow this Pineapple Express, etc. Dale ends up leaving to go deliver this subpoena. And what happens? Dale Denton witnesses a murder. Witnesses a murder from Ted Jones along with a female cop who, I love the line when Rosie Perez gets out of the car. He goes, what an adorable little cop. And she is. She's very attractive, Rosie Perez. If you don't know who she is, she came up in the world of Spike Lee, and she's been around for a long time. And she's very, very entertaining in this movie and also very adorable.
I will always remember her from Why Men Can't Jump.
So Dale starts freaking out, and of course, what's he doing? He's smoking a joint while he's watching this go down. He ends up throwing the weed out of the car, trying to escape from the potentiality of getting killed himself, smacks into a cop car, which later has repercussions in the story, which is a great sequence also. And Ted Jones, played by Gary Cole, of all people. If you know Gary Cole by name, awesome. If you don't, he is... Yeah, if you could not smoke weed, that would be great. That's just my
That
Gary
was
Cole
great.
impression from
No,
Office Space.
Classic role in Office Space.
Absolutely.
Say hello to Lumberg for me.
Office Space should be on this friggin' podcast too. I love that movie.
Wholeheartedly agree.
So after Dale takes off, Rosie Perez and Gary Cole run out of the house. Gary, as Ted Jones, picks up this joint, takes a puff of it, and he goes, "This is Pineapple Express." Dale ends up back at Saul's house, starts telling him what he just saw, and I love that whole back and forth too, because Saul is kind of like, "What the hell, man? What are you doing here?" He goes, "Well, wait a minute. Nobody's going to find out. It's all good. The only person that knows that I have Pineapple Express is Red, and Red is played by Danny McBride." So what happens? Both of these guys start to go on the run from Ted Jones to get to Red's house to try and figure out a way to evade Ted Jones for a little while before they can get involved with the police, even though the police are also involved in this murder. And we have Budlowski and Matheson show up, played by Craig Robinson and Kevin Corrigan, who are the hitmen for Ted Jones, and they are on Dale and Saul's tail. And for the rest of the movie of Pineapple Express, we are along for this hysterical cat and mouse game where Dale and Saul are running around town trying to evade Budlowski and Matheson and also keep Red in the loop, but also start to kind of get a little worried about maybe Red's involved in this whole thing. And it just becomes one mishap after another with a fantastic car chase sequence, relationship problems with Dale and his girlfriend Angie, including her parents, and several other characters just keep popping up. And it's just an all-around hysterical blast of a good time. I think I saw this movie 5 times in theaters. I've owned the DVD since it came out. Probably watched it over, I don't even know how many times. My buddies would come over and like, "What are we going to watch?" Let's watch Pineapple Express, because we would just get baked as fuck and just sit there and laugh our asses off. And this time around was one of the first times I ever watched Pineapple Express not on weed, and it still made me laugh my entire ass off. And it probably has been over 5 years since I've watched it. It's still hysterical. And I know I've been kind of talking down on Seth Rogen a little bit over the last couple years because he just keeps popping up everywhere. But he knows what he's doing. He's a great writer, as is Evan Goldberg. David Gordon Green directed a great movie. The cast in this movie feels natural. None of this feels like it is staged, and none of it feels like it is a Hollywood movie. It feels like this is something that could definitely go down with all of these characters. And I love this movie. I also had the pleasure of working on the trailers for this movie when I was working at the Ant Farm, similar to Tropic Thunder and Madagascar and Kung Fu Panda. So that was the year of 2008. And another one of my 2008 picks was Tropic Thunder, which we did last year. So V, I'm curious what your rewatch of Pineapple Express was. I don't know when the last time you watched it. So let's hear it. Let's break it down.
Oh, at least 10 years.
Oh, wow.
I had a really good time with it. It's only been the 5th time I've watched it, I think, but I was really worried that I wasn't going to think it was funny, but it certainly holds up. I love that on Hulu, where it's streaming right now, it's listed as a, quote, adventure movie, not a comedy. I was like, what the
That's
hell?
great.
So first
I
and
guess
foremost,
because they go into the woods at one point, maybe that's the adventure part.
it is certainly an action movie. I had forgotten how incredible the action sequences were in this film. First, the car chase, and then the last half hour of this movie is so exciting and fun. The stunts are absolutely incredible. I was very impressed. For a comedy movie, the action is great. I had such a good time, especially with the finale of this movie. And Sal certainly reminded me of Dante from Grandma's Boy.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely.
I'm sure he took inspiration from that. And I think everybody, as you said, everybody did a really great job. It felt very natural, and it was a lot of fun. It was really great watching two guys, because this is such a classic stance for guys like this to have, where they think they're total heroes or badasses, because they hype each other up throughout the whole film, right? And they keep talking about how they're going to do this and they're going to do that, or they try to do things like the car chase, and then he tries to kick out the windshield and it doesn't work.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, so many
great.
mishaps. And it's so classic for guys to think they're so badass and heroes. Like, how many guys think they could take on a bear? There's that article that keeps circulating around of like 1 in 8 guys or 1 in 5 guys think they could take on a bear. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah,
there's
I know.
no
I couldn't.
way.
That's for
There's
sure.
No way. Yeah, so it's so funny that this was a realistic movie where they think they're heroes and badasses, but in reality, they barely scrape by, right?
Yep. That's how I feel about Budlowski and Matheson, especially Matheson, played by Craig Robinson. He comes off as wanting to be this tough, badass assassin, but he's just a little bit of a bitch in this movie. But it's hilarious.
He's really good in this film. Everybody is. And Danny McBride, dear God. I was
Oh, yeah.
laughing every single time he was on screen. He stole every scene. And he was just that perfect mix of kind of your douchey friend, but you're still friends with him.
Yep.
So great. But
He's an asshole, but he's our asshole.
yeah, exactly. And I just have to say, beyond all of that, and it's a very funny film and great action, but the crowning achievement of this movie is the fact that Huey Lewis sings the theme song to it.
Yeah. The soundtrack to this movie's awesome. I love the soundtrack to this movie. So many good songs.
Soundtrack to both of our movies this week are awesome. I had so much fun listening to
especially.
both soundtracks. Yes, I'm excited to get into it. And so the Huey Lewis and the News song, Pineapple Express, it's the title of the film, which is great. It's not available on Spotify, so I went on YouTube, and they have it on YouTube. I've listened to it like 8 times over the last couple of days because it's so goddamn catchy.
Awesome. Pineapple Express. Totally brings me back to Back to the Future vibes too.
That's exactly what I thought too. Power of Love, right?
Yep. And Back in Time.
I love Huey Lewis. My mother introduced me to him when I was really young. Loved him ever since. And so, yes, thank you for I never would have watched this film again if you didn't pick it for the podcast. Not that I hated it or wasn't interested. It's just I wouldn't have ever gotten around to it because it's not necessarily my type of comedy anymore.
Sure.
And I just thought it was still really funny and a really entertaining rewatch. So thank you.
Absolutely. I watched it alone, Amy. This is not a movie for Amy.
No, absolutely not.
And the amount of times I've seen it, I can absolutely quote it word for word. And I was kind of doing that this time around, especially the scenes with Danny McBride. I love when Dale finally meets Red in his house, and he's like, this is a cake because I get up extra early and I make my cat his favorite birthday cake. And he's like, where's your cat? He goes, oh, well, he died. Now who's the funny guy? Just stuff like that is ridiculous. And he's like, hey, look what I'm wearing. What are you wearing? I'm wearing a kimono. And I don't have hair under my arm. It makes me aerodynamic when I fight. I can take danger. Shit like that is just so ridiculous.
The aerodynamic line made me cackle so loud. I was like, this is the most ridiculous thing. And
it is so stupid.
It felt like everybody was improvising, especially Danny.
Oh, yeah. The scenes with Danny McBride, a good majority of the movie is improvised, even though there was a screenplay. Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg originally wrote the screenplay in 2001, but they weren't really anybody too big at the time. Judd Apatow, Seth Rogen, and James Franco had just finished a show called Undeclared, which only went one season, but was really, really funny stuff. Seth Rogen was on Howard Stern saying that when the script was finished, he tried to pass it around to a couple people, including Judd Apatow, but Apatow also was still kind of making his rise up the ranks. And since Seth Rogen wasn't anybody really name-worthy yet, he had to wait until a couple of movies came out, which were The 40-Year-Old Virgin and Knocked Up. So after those movies came out, studios were a little bit more lenient with Seth Rogen on making a stoner comedy, which there weren't a whole lot of stoner comedies at the time frame that this movie had come out either.
So they wrote this script before Superbad then?
No, Superbad was actually written in late 1990s.
Oh, that's right. And both were held on until the mid-2000s.
Yes. And what's crazy that you mentioned Superbad is that James Franco had mentioned in an interview that after Superbad had come out, when they were getting pre-production on Pineapple Express going, there was talks of intersecting both the characters of Seth and Evan from Superbad into Pineapple Express with Dale and Saul, which would have been pretty cool, but I'm kind of glad that they leave it as standalone movies.
What would have been really funny is if they both showed up to Saul's apartment to buy weed and then left, and it was like a 30-second scene.
That would have been great. Yeah, little cameos.
Mm-hmm.
Now, speaking of Ted Jones, played by Gary Cole, there was another actor that read for Ted Jones, but was told by Judd Apatow that he wasn't scary or evil enough. And I wonder if you might be able to take a guess at who that actor was, V.
Is it something ironic like Dennis Hopper or somebody that's just incredibly intimidating? Okay.
Well, actually, you know what? That's a solid point because he does become incredibly intimidating in another role that he plays. But he didn't start out that way in a previous series that he was the father in.
Bryan Cranston.
Yeah, Bryan Cranston read for Ted Jones.
Oh, he would have been.
He was told he wasn't menacing enough.
Nobody saw this coming when he starred in Breaking Bad.
Yep.
Before that show premiered, nobody thought he would ever pull it off. Similar to the backlash to Heath Ledger being cast as the Joker. Nobody
Exactly.
thought that was the right fit. And then, man, Bryan Cranston just blew everybody out of the water with that. I love him so much. He's also a great storyteller. His autobiography is actually has several books, are so well done.
Oh, cool. I should read the autobiography. I have not had a chance to do that yet, but I have had the massive pleasure of walking Bryan Cranston to set on the set of Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Nice.
My first day, I get a radio like, "Hey John, can you go get BC out of his trailer?" Because they didn't have their names, they just had them as initials.
Yep.
And I was like, "Yeah, sure, BC, yeah, why not?" So I go up there and knock on the door, standing there, and I hear just a sec, and then he opens the door, and it's Bryan fucking Cranston, and I kind of froze in my tracks. And said, "Oh, Mr. Cranston, we're ready for you on set." He goes, "Great, what's your name?" So we started talking. He's like, "Where are you from?" He was interested, and he was a very, very nice guy. And Jeff Garlin actually, during a setup for the sequence that we were shooting with Bryan Cranston, stood up and said, "Hey, everybody, just in case you don't know, Bryan Cranston's autobiography just came out. It's really, really good. You got to read it." And everybody cheered. And then Bryan Cranston stood up and he says, "It's available at all bookstores, in case you're wondering. You can also get it on Amazon.com." And he sat back down. Really, really nice guy for the 8 minutes that I got to spend with him. Really, really cool.
That's funny. I've met Jeff Garlin too. I didn't work with him, but he and I had a conversation that lasted about 15 minutes actually once. He was randomly at some offices I was working at, and we had a conversation. I had commented how great he looked because he had lost a bunch of weight, and then we started talking about other random things. He was super nice. He's a very tall guy.
He is huge. He's very tall.
Yeah.
So surprising. And going back to Jeff Garlin, I've met him 2 other times. I met him at Amoeba Music one afternoon, and I met him outside of Jones on 3rd in Studio City, and that was the first time I met him, way before I got on Curb. And I was like, "Hey, Mr. Garlin, big fan." He goes, "Thanks for having great taste," and walked into the restaurant. I was like, that is exactly something I would expect Garlin to say.
I need to remember that line forever.
Yeah, right?
Just in case I can
awesome.
ever use it.
Yeah, I walked away laughing, and Amy's like, "Who was that?" I'm like, "Oh, he's Jeff Green and Curb Your Enthusiasm, baby. He's the man." So going back to Pineapple Express, as much as we love talking about Curb Your Enthusiasm, there is no Curb Your Enthusiasm movie, but that's okay. There's a lot of action, like you mentioned, in this movie. The fight sequence between James Franco and Rosie Perez was completely improvised from the ground up. That was all put together on set on the day. And I love that whole thing. My favorite part is, of course, when he runs in with the fucking machine gun, "Fuck the police!" I love that moment. I remember the entire theater just cheering and hollering at the ArcLight when that moment happened.
Such an idiot.
This was one of those movies where it was totally fine to completely lose your mind in the theater.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I saw it 5 different times, and everybody just, you couldn't hear anything because everybody was just laughing so goddamn hard. And there's another sequence where an incredible stunt sequence in Red's house with all 3 of them kicking the living shit out of each other. And I think my favorite part is when they break the door down and Red goes flying into the sink. That just always makes me completely die laughing.
No,
But the scene where... what's your favorite part?
My favorite part is when Red is clearly dazed. He's about to... He's definitely beaten. And
It's my cat's birthday.
Seth Rogen gets up from getting his ass beaten, is so pissed about it, he doesn't even notice that Red's fucked up. And so he throws him against the wall, and he literally makes a hole in the wall with his head.
This ends now!
Yeah. The fact that he yells just makes it the perfect end of the fight. Oh my God.
I love that he looks at Saul, he's like, "Was that too much?" And the way they tape him to the fucking chair, and he's like,
"I'm gonna flex."
Red's just like, "I'm gonna flex and bust out of here." Oh, so good. And then I love that too, because he starts telling Dale and Saul Ted Jones knows that you witnessed the murder. They're out to kill you guys. And then Budlowski and Matheson show up later, and he's like, "Man, you wearing British Knights? I haven't seen those since 1980s. I had you over here for dinner. Fish tacos." Just so fucking funny. And speaking of Danny McBride, there was one morning my dad and I were going to Cafe 101 in Hollywood on Vista Del Mar and Franklin Avenue, and I got to run into Danny McBride for about 10 seconds and tell him how much of a fan I was and how much I loved him in Tropic Thunder. And he was very gracious and said, "Thank you very much," and walked away. And that was it.
Mother Nature just pissed her pantsuit.
Exactly.
It's
I wish I
so
would have said
amazing in
something
that
like
movie.
that, but yeah, it's one of those things where, especially when I met Jim Cummings recently, I was kind of like, but yeah, it was cool.
I know you met Jim Cummings last week or so, And I was so happy for you and so excited. And you showed me a picture and it was all great. So I said, oh, did you talk to him about his podcast? Did you tell him about our podcast? And you were like, no, I blacked out.
Yeah, pretty much blacked out. I did tell him I loved his podcast, but my having a podcast did not even come to mind at the time.
You should have asked to be on his podcast.
I know, that would have been cool. I guess we're just going to keep talking about how funny the movie is. Like, there's no real
It's very
reason
funny.
to. It really is, yeah. And talking about it, of course, after having just watched it a few days ago, it still makes me fucking laugh. I have it on right now, and the scene where Saul and Dale go to Red's house is just about to start.
Mm-hmm.
So that's great. A couple other things, breaking down of the behind the scenes of this movie. The budget for this movie was originally going to be $50 million. Seth Rogen tried to get $50 million for this movie.
$50 million?
$50 million. Exactly. Yes. But they ended up getting $25 million for it because the studios were really not sure about doing such a drug-heavy subject matter of a film.
And they're also like, who the fuck are you asking for $50
Yeah, exactly.
million?
Right. Yeah, Knocked Up had just come out, which was Seth Rogen's first big lead role, which I went down a Seth Rogen rabbit hole a few months ago, and I watched that, and I watched Superbad again, and a couple other of his movies, and Knocked Up is still great. I really think Knocked Up is one of Judd Apatow's crowning achievements. Other than, I know a lot of people like 40-Year-Old Virgin, but I think Knocked Up is truly my favorite one that Judd Apatow did. I did not like Funny People very much, and I never did see This Is 40.
Oh, This Is 40 is good. I saw it in theaters.
I heard that was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
I think because it was a spin-off type of a movie from Knocked Up
Right.
with Paul Rudd and Leslie Mann, and nothing wrong with that. I also was younger and single, and I didn't have any real reason to see it, I guess. So
Not
maybe I
as
should watch
relatable.
it now because I'm coming up. Yeah, I'm coming up on the year 40.
And you're married.
I am. Seth Rogen did a lot of his own stunt work in this movie. The scene where he jumps on Ted Jones from that high section in
Such an
that
iconic scene.
toward the finale. It is. It's great. He was put on wires, and he did that jump several times. He ended up doing a bunch of yoga before this movie, but he was doing light yoga because they didn't want Seth Rogen to lose any weight. He had to be this dumpy,
Schlub.
unattractive-looking dude. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it works, of course. And that's another reason why I think it works with him as Dale over Saul, because it just would have been a little bit too typecast, especially with him just coming off of Knocked Up being the dumpy stoner. Now, this is one thing I only did I think was super bad. The word fuck is used 180 times in this movie.
Yeah, of course it is.
And Saul's grandmother, Bubby, was originally not in the screenplay. That was James Franco's idea to have a grandmother character for him, and I thought it was great.
Brilliant.
I love the scene when he's at the retirement home and Budlowski and Matheson show up, and later on she is being interviewed by the officer, and she's like, "There's something on your face," and he's like, "Oh, I believe that's a mole, ma'am." Like that moment is very
absolutely
entertaining.
love in the older folks' home when James Franco cracks Matheson over the head with a coffee pot. That was such a good stunt.
So good. And I mentioned this movie was shot around San Fernando Valley in North Hollywood. The trademark of the town that they're shooting in, though, is Clark County, which is the same county that Superbad is set in.
Which Clark County is where Las Vegas is.
Exactly. Yeah, I know. It's so strange. But that scene where McLovin and Seth and Evan go to buy the booze in that parking lot, that is on the corner of Burbank Boulevard. Like, I've been in that liquor store several times, especially after seeing Superbad. I was like, oh, I gotta go to... And I used to drive by it all the time because there was a studio that I was working at for this Netflix show called Mac and Moxie that only went 8 episodes on Netflix. But every morning I would take an extra long route just to drive by that liquor store and be like, Superbad, Pineapple Express. I always like doing that. I like driving by a lot of my favorite locations, especially if I like the movie a lot.
Me too, and Seth Rogen was in both of those scenes.
Indeed, he was. There's another actor in this movie. Ken Jeong shows up at one point in this film.
Oh my god, I'd totally forgotten because it was such an early role of his. I had no idea
Yeah.
he was in this film. I was like, holy shit, it's Ken!
Yep. And Bobby Lee is also in this movie. Mm-hmm. They play 2 of the Asian gangsters. And there's another side story in this movie where Ted Jones thinks that the Asians that are also drug dealers are trying to take him down. And that's another reason why Ted Jones and Rosie Perez's character are after Dale, because they think that they're all working for the Asians and going to the casino to start selling drugs there and try and take over their operation. That's a great side story as well in this movie, but it's not as important as the rest of the movie.
Well, and I love how it all ties together with them misunderstanding who exactly Dale is, because he's a process server and needs to find people and they need to think that he's not who he is. He has all these disguises in the beginning of the movie. There's this little montage of how he's doing his job, and he's very good at it. But when Ted Jones and Rosie Perez find Dale's car and he's got all these disguises in it, they're like, see, he's a hitman. You see all these disguises that he has? And it was
yes, that was
there
great.
There were so many little bits of that made it a great misunderstanding that it was just such a natural little subplot. They did that so well in this movie.
I completely agree. There is a scene later on in the movie where Dale and Red have decided to band together and start getting their weapons ready for an assault on Ted Jones and his lair. And Danny McBride's character pulls out a gun and says to Dale, Ted Jones messed with the wrong melon farmers. This is a play on the fact that would have been the television edit of Motherfucker.
Oh, my favorite arming themselves scene is towards the end with Sal and Dale together when they turn around and there's just guns all over that wall.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That is great. Like you said, the action in this movie is pretty unmatched. It's pretty fantastic. And in a bunch of the interviews and behind the scenes on the DVD of this movie, Seth and Evan were like, as much as we loved making a stoner comedy, we really wanted to make a die-hard type of an action stoner comedy. And they succeeded majorly. The stunt work is great. The car chase sequence still phenomenal. I've been in all those parking lots. Where they're driving down that road and he tries to kick out the window. That's Laurel Canyon Boulevard, just beyond Victory.
Oh,
and
nice. Okay.
I lived right, literally, the next street over on Lancashire Boulevard. And I don't know. I was probably at the ant farm and when they were shooting this stuff because it was all day shoots. But it's so awesome to see all these locations. Be like, I used to walk down that street all the time. I've been in that park where they drive through and he's like, tree, squirrel. I've been in that park. I've been in that liquor store. There's just all these locations, except for towards the end of the movie where they're in that underground bunker. I don't know where that was shot. I couldn't actually find it out, but the opening of this movie is great. I didn't get into it too much, but Bill Hader has an appearance, as does James Remar, who we just discussed in White Fang. He plays Beauty. He is in this movie. And so is a great actress, Chloe King. She plays the police liaison officer. She catches Dale and Saul selling marijuana to high school kids. She is great. She's also in The Hangover and Dude, Where's My Car? And so many other movies, and she's always fantastic. And another great cameo in this movie, Joe Latruglio plays the teacher in the high school when Dale is meeting up with Angie. I love that scene so much. I remember that was, I think, the funniest scene in the movie up until the movie continues on after that, because the way that Seth Rogen and Joe Latruglio back and forth is absolutely gold. So that is Pineapple Express. I love this movie. Came out August 6th of 2008. Like I mentioned before, I was very fortunate enough to work on the trailers and TV spots for this movie. The budget ended up coming up to $27 million.
Okay.
Not bad. Opening weekend in the U.S. and Canada pulled in $23.2 million.
Nice.
The domestic gross box office was $87.3 million.
Oh, yeah. I remember this movie being very popular.
Oh, yes. Absolutely. The last time I saw it was in a dollar movie theater, actually.
Nice.
And the gross worldwide for Pineapple Express was $101.6 million. So it did very well, domestically and worldwide.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of this movie, as is V, apparently, so that's great news that V didn't hate this pick as much as V has hated some of my other picks, including Hamlet 2 and Monkey Bone. But that's okay. This film...
165 episodes, and I've disliked 2.5 of your movies.
Yeah, I know. It's great. Very good ratio.
Yes.
If you have not seen this film, it is currently streaming on Hulu. You can watch it. I watched my DVD copy. There is an R-rated and an unrated version. The unrated version is slightly different. There's a little bit more blood than in the R-rated version, but that's really about the only thing that's different. So that is Pineapple Express. I'm very excited to bring it to our audience, especially if our audience hasn't seen it. I can't imagine they haven't. I feel like majority of the world has seen this movie.
A lot of people have not seen this film. Yeah, I do know a lot of people who haven't seen it.
Perfect. Maybe they will check it out after this episode.
Yeah, and wasn't there a copy of Pineapple Express Blu-ray in the box of movies I gave you a couple months ago?
I actually don't recall if there was or not.
I think there was. Yeah, I think.
I'll have to look. I have that box under my bed right now.
You already had it as a copy, so it's okay. That one wasn't one to check off your list, but I think there was a copy of that in there.
All right. I will have to double check and let you know.
Yeah.
All right, well, I think it is now time to rewind and go back to the bicentennial of the 70s and the final day of school for those junior high students and them high schoolers. V, are you ready to take us Well, you know the name of your movie. I'm not going to blow it for everybody.
Oh, well, thank you so much, John, for introducing the film. I really am excited to discuss this movie. I've been watching it for a very long time, and I hope you enjoyed... You've seen this before, right?
Oh, many times.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay. And so I hope you enjoyed your revisit. That's right. We're going back to the bicentennial of the United States in 1976 to the very last day of school for junior high and high schoolers in a small town in Texas. This is 1993's Dazed and Confused.
Been dazed and confused for so long, it's not true. Awesome. Let's do it.
I always think of Slow Ride because that's the last song in the movie.
Oh, yeah. This soundtrack is fantastic. When I was watching it, I looked it up on vinyl. The only reason I'm not buying it is because they don't have the Aerosmith songs on it.
Oh, that's fair. They used 1/6 of the movie's budget to pay for the songs on the soundtrack.
Damn.
All right, so let's get into this film. This movie is an ensemble cast about a day in the life, well, of a bunch of stoners, hence the topic of our episode this week. But
Yes.
Instead, these are all kids in high school and junior high experiencing their last day of school in 1976.
School's out for summer.
Where I got introduced to that song.
Oh, is that right? Nice. I got introduced to that song with the Faculty trailer, actually, many years ago, speaking of one of your past picks.
Oh, well, since Dazed and Confused came out in 93, I did see it before The Faculty, which is why it was introduced to me then.
That makes sense.
And this film mainly focuses on a bunch of juniors who are now rising seniors. They are going into their last year of high school in a couple months, and they're all getting prepared for that in various ways. Jason London plays Randall Floyd, so his nickname naturally is Pink.
Yeah, yes.
Jason London is part of a pair of twins, actually, Jason and Jeremy London, who were pretty big in the 90s. Jason starred in, well, actually, Tu Wong Fu, a previous pick of mine. He was Bobby Ray in that movie. He was also in an adaptation for TV. It was terrible, but he was in an adaptation of Jason and the Argonauts, which is funny because I recently picked that too.
Oh, wow.
And his identical twin brother, Jeremy, was the one in Mallrats, Party of Five, Gods and Generals. So they both had a pretty good career. Jeremy,
wow.
though, was the one who's been arrested several times for domestic violence. So he's had some major problems. But Jason, his twin brother, is the one who's in this movie, playing Pink.
Man, they really are identical twins, because every time I've watched this movie, I'm like, Mallrats.
Exactly. Yeah, they are definitely identical. And they've actually vied for different auditions at different points in their careers as well, which has got to be weird.
That, I can only imagine how weird that is.
Yeah. And a lot of this cast you'll actually recognize. These are up-and-coming actors. This was one of their first roles. Mila Jovovich, she plays one of the guy's girlfriends. She is Lilu in The Fifth Element. She's cashing it in on the Resident Evil franchise.
Oh, yeah.
She's also in a really underrated sci-fi movie that my dad introduced me to called Ultraviolet, which is actually pretty good.
I have never seen that. Same with Aeon Flux. Both of those movies, I remember when they both came out, I was like, oh, these look like the exact same movie. But I never saw either of them.
Yeah, they came out right around the same time. I always put those two together. I think Aeon Flux with Charlize Theron is better, but Ultraviolet isn't that bad either. So
I love Mila Jovovich. She's always awesome to watch.
She was great in Zoolander.
Yes, Katinka Ingo Bogovina now.
Yes, Parker Posey's also in this film.
Yes.
Cole Hauser is one of his friends, Benny. And Cole Hauser, I always forget, he's the fourth friend in the group in Good Will Hunting.
Oh, wow. I have only seen Good Will Hunting one time. I really don't remember much of it.
I've seen it a couple times, and so the group of friends is Matt Damon, Ben Affleck, Casey Affleck, and the fourth is Cole Hauser.
Oh, cool.
He was also in Pitch Black, which is going to be a future pick of mine. He's the pilot. He's the
never saw that one either.
Oh my God, how have you not seen Pitch Black? Okay, I'm so excited to introduce you to it. But he's also in Too Fast, Too Furious as the villain.
Oh, wow. Really? Wow, okay. Don't even remember that one.
Do you remember him as the Secret Service agent in Olympus Has Fallen?
No.
Oh my God. Okay, what's wrong with you today? Well,
nothing. I don't remember. I've only seen Olympus Has Fallen one time, and as much as I enjoyed it, I've only seen it the one time.
Oh, okay. I guess it'll be on my list then. And more recently, he was in the show Yellowstone, which I know you haven't seen. He plays Rip.
You're right.
But Cole Hauser's maternal great-grandfather was Harry Warner.
Oh, no kidding.
Of the Warner Brothers.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's the biggest nepotism I've ever heard.
Yeah. That or Tony Goldwyn from Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer.
Exactly.
Ben Affleck also has a small role in this movie as O'Banion, a total asshole. He's actually failed his senior year, so he's going to be a rising senior again. And everybody hates him in this movie, which is great.
I love his hair.
I love everybody's hair in this movie. The hair is fabulous.
The hair is pretty awesome.
So are the cars, so are the costumes. The period piece aspect of this film is second to none.
Yeah, it's great.
And then the soundtrack goes along with it. But the person who really steals this movie away from everyone, even though he has a little bit of a bit part, is Matthew McConaughey. He plays Wooderson. Yeah. It's his first feature film credit ever. And this really launched his career because he stole every single scene he was in. His lines are still extremely quotable to this day. And he's got several of them in this movie. And his character of Wooderson was based on his older brother.
On McConaughey's older brother?
Uh-huh.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
And not only is the most iconic line from the movie the one I started the podcast with, which is...
All right.
But he has some other great ones too, including when he asks this kid for weed and he says no. And he goes...
Say, man, you got a joint?
No, not on me, man.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
And so that makes up most of the cast of these rising seniors, and there are a couple of kids who didn't really have much of a career, but they play the juniors who are now going into high school. And the big plot of this movie is that as you are a rising senior, you all make paddles, the boys in the school at least. As seniors, they make paddles and they wail on the junior high kids who are now going to be in 9th grade. And it's this weird tradition. It's just this big hazing tradition basically in this town. And all the girls who are becoming seniors, they take all the graduating 8th grade girls and they haze the crap out of them too in various ways. And it's all very toxic to me now, especially as I'm older, just looking back and going, God, this was awful. And there's even a comment that somebody makes in the movie about how it's sanctioned, that the town is completely fine with it. They're even selling snacks when the girls are hazing the younger ones.
Oh, yeah.
It's so brutal.
It is pretty intense.
Now, see, what's fascinating is the way not only the school, but the entire community seems to be supporting this, or at least turn their heads. I mean, they apparently have permission to use the parking lot.
Right.
No parents seem to mind, They're selling concessions, I mean.
I know.
And I had not actually seen this movie. There's a Family Guy episode that touches on the paddling and the hazing. Then when I saw this movie, I was like, oh my gosh, Adam West is the Ben Affleck character. And our listeners know Family Guy. They know which episode I'm talking about. I don't remember the exact plot of that episode, but I remember that very well. Because that song from Alice Cooper also plays No More Mr. Nice Guy.
That's a really good song. I've been listening to it last week, actually.
It is a great song.
And so once school is out and this hazing has been complete, everybody's talking about having a party at this guy named Pickford's house, who's just part of the friend group. And unfortunately, his parents get wind, because they were going to go out of town for the weekend, but his parents get wind of it, or at least get wise to it. And so they cancel their plans. And everybody keeps coming over to his house and knocking on the door, and his dad answers, and they immediately run away. So everybody's super bummed out. It's a small town. They just end up cruising, and goddamn, these cars are so sweet that they have for this movie. And Pink and his friends are all looking to have a good time, and at least just do something in this small town because everybody's super bored. They end up at a billiards place and at a drive-in. The billiards place is actually where they originally meet Matthew McConaughey's character of Wooderson, and he's standing outside hanging out with Pink and Slater, another one of their friends, who's a major stoner, which is so funny. But Wooderson is standing there looking at all these young women who are walking into the billiards place, and it's just such a classic line.
That's what I love about these high school girls, man. I get older, they stay the same age.
And so once everybody figures out that Pickford's party has been canceled, they start strategizing together as to what they're going to do next. And finally, some guys get some kegs going, they get a couple of trunkfuls of beer, and everybody says, let's meet at the Moon Tower, which is basically a really cool lit up tower in their town. And it's in a secluded field, and so all the high schoolers, and in fact some of the now 9th graders, get invited and have this party. And it's all about these interconnected cliques and these kids who know each other and hang out together, others who don't like like each other at all. And it's this wonderful snapshot of dynamics in high school that I really love to this day. And it ends up being a really fun movie of 24 hours in the day of the life of these kids. And Pink especially is going through some tough times because he's the star quarterback of the football team, but the coach has given all of the players a pledge to sign that they were supposed to sign by the end of the day at school. And Pink is pretty pissed about it because it's this basically purity test that's saying, I won't do drugs, I won't have sex, I won't smoke weed, I won't drink, all these things. I will have moral character and moral fiber, and I won't embarrass my team or my coach, etc., etc. And he's thinking that these guys are fascists, which I don't disagree, actually. I don't think that teenagers should be doing lots of drugs, obviously, but at the same time, it's kind of a shitty way that they're doing it. And so I completely agree with Pink that he's getting pretty pissed off about this whole situation. So he's thinking about that a lot during this day and talking to a lot of his friends on whether or not he's going to do this. And for the rest of the movie, we're following these kids along as they party and have a good time, and some of them get in fights, some of them break up with their girlfriends, some of them actually find new ones, and it's just a really fun time. I love the dialogue in this movie. That's what really drives it, because it's not an action movie. It's really a character study of how it was not only as teens in the 70s, but I think it's really relevant to today. I watched this movie in the 90s when I was starting to get into my teenage years, and I certainly thought it still stuck the landing and had a lot to say, and I think that that's one of the reasons why I picked this movie. Is it's just so timeless. It really transcends whatever generation you are to distill down the problems and challenges you have as a teenager. And it's actually kind of crazy to think that even now getting into, which is insane, this movie takes place almost 50 years ago.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty nuts.
That it's still absolutely relevant to today. So I hadn't seen it in a while, and I was really glad to revisit it. And so, John, I'm curious when the last time you saw this movie was.
I watched it within the last year, actually. I've been a fan of this movie for the last 20-ish years. My buddy Joel actually turned me on to it. Our
Nice.
mutual friend, Joel.
Mm-hmm.
And we, of course, we got high as hell and watched this movie. I believe he was house sitting or something like that. I ended up going over to wherever he was house sitting, went in the backyard and got very, very stoned and went inside, watched this movie. And then I think after that we watched Grandma's Boy or something like that. We just had a stoner movie marathon. It was one of those evenings hanging out. I've enjoyed the movie ever since seeing it for the first time. I don't own it. It's one of those movies that I've thought about owning for a long time. I don't watch it all that much, but every now and then I do feel like just kind of sitting back and relaxing and watching this Richard Linklater tale and having a good time with it. I tend to forget about the purity signatory situation. That never happened to me in high school. I was an athlete through my entire high school career, and my coach never presented anything like that to us. Now, granted,
Apparently you
back in the 70s... well, no, it was. I did not drink or smoke weed until way after I had graduated high school.
True.
So I was a what's it called? Straight edge throughout high school.
Oh yeah, that was
I
a
did
big thing
nothing
when we were
to
growing up.
screw up with my body.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but lots of my friends certainly did. They would go home and drink their parents' beer or somehow get weed. A couple friends of mine actually got kicked out of high school for having a bag of weed at one point, which was pretty entertaining. Truthfully, I was kind of like, man, you actually got caught with weed in the boys' bathroom. How did that happen? But anyway,
That's kind of
neither here nor there.
hilarious, considering the fact that the first time I ever got high was with a group of teachers.
Oh, well, perfect.
Gotta love my hometown in Northern California.
Yeah, small town stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And that's another thing that I kind of liked about this movie too, was the small town aspect of it. There's one scene that I don't like, and I've never liked it. It's the scene after the pep rally or the football game or something like that, and Pink is walking out, and there's this old couple, and the old man's like, "Are you ready to throw all these yards next year? The town's really counting on you." And it's like, where does this kind of shit happen? It didn't happen in my town.
Texas.
So, that's... Oh, well, sure, yeah. Texas, maybe up in your hometown also, very small town area. Similar to when we were... I can't remember what movie we were
Football
talking
is
about.
second
but
to Jesus in Texas.
No, I guess. Is that where Friday Night Lights is set?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And
All right.
Varsity
Well, then
Blues.
that makes sense. Oh, got it. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, see, my high school football team was garbage, so it never mattered. So if the swim team or the track team did anything, we were on the marquee the next day, which was always kind of cool. But it still didn't get me laid. But anyway, the whole
football.
small town thing is... I probably would have died.
Yeah. My mom wouldn't let me play because of that, too.
I definitely wanted to play football growing up because it was my dad was a major football fan, and I was as well. But the whole hazing thing cracks me up. My least favorite character in this movie is Mitch Kramer. Wiley Wiggins, awful. I don't like him in this movie at all.
Because he's not a good actor. I mean, this was one of his first roles, and I get it, but he should not have been cast in as Mitch.
No, not at all. And I think this and Waking Life were like the 2 movies that he did. I don't know if he's actually in anything else. I never went as far as to look up his IMDb. But overall, Michelle Burke, who plays his older sister, completely fawn over her every time I watch this movie. She's absolutely gorgeous.
I think she's the prettiest one in the whole group. I totally agree.
Yeah, definitely. And Joey Lauren Adams is in this movie. She is Amy from Chasing Amy. She's also in Mallrats with the guy that plays Pink. Well, his identical twin brother, not him. Thought it was him. And Heather Burns is in this movie, and we just talked about her when you did Miss Congeniality.
That's right.
And Adam Goldberg. So there's a couple of names definitely in this movie.
Renee Zellweger's first uncredited role.
Renee Zellweger's in this movie?
Yeah, she's in the back of a truck in one scene.
Oh, no kidding. Well, cool. Look at that. It's an enjoyable movie. I like I said, revert back to it every now and then just to kind of relax and kick back. And I love Richard Linklater too. And we've discussed him at length a couple of times here. Now I think this might actually be the second time, even though we've discussed his filmography, because he's done School of Rock and A Scanner Darkly and a couple other movies that will likely show up on the podcast again, and they'll be much better for you than Waking Life.
Well, I did like Bernie.
Oh, that's right. Yes, he did Bernie. There we go. So we've done so far 3 Richard Linklater movies.
Yes, this is my first pick of Richard Linklater's too. I believe you're a much bigger fan of his than I am, though. I only like a couple of his. Well, I do like several of his movies actually. Now that I think about it, because I love School of Rock.
Yeah, right.
I love The Newton Boys, which Matthew McConaughey is in again.
I've not seen that one.
Yeah, I need to introduce you to that one. He made the Before series, Before Sunrise, Before Midnight, with the one with Ethan Hawke in it, and he made the movie Hitman last year with Glenn Powell.
That's right. Yes. Yeah. So you are a fan. You just didn't like Waking Life, and that's okay.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Okay. Well, and not only did he write, produce, and direct this movie, but his intent with making it, which I think makes me an official fan, and I think you'll love this too, his intent with this movie was to create an inverse John Hughes teen movie.
Ah, perfect. I love it.
Right?
Even though I have not seen the John Hughes teen movies, I still love it.
Yeah, you have, because you've seen Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Oh, yeah. I literally have almost blocked that movie out of my memory. I do not like that movie. I think it is extremely overhyped.
That's my point, is that neither of us really like John Hughes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Except for Home Alone and Home Alone 2.
Those are not his movies. Stop saying that.
He wrote them.
I know, but Chris Columbus created them and brought them to life because he directed them. So they're not. John Hughes just wrote them. That's different. Anyway, I don't think of them. I never, ever will ever think the Home Alone movies are John Hughes movies, period.
You might be the only person on the planet that has that mindset, and that's okay.
Ask anyone if they think Home Alone is a John Hughes movie on the street, and let me know what they say.
I will. When I'm going into the airport, I'm going to stop some people today and be like, hey, did you think Home Alone is a John Hughes movie? We'll see what happens. So anyway, yes, big fan of this movie. I'm excited that you picked it. I thought it was a good pairing with Pineapple Express this week.
Thank you, especially with the timeline of the story. That's what made me think of it, because I knew Pineapple Express took place in a day.
Yes.
So not only was Matthew McConaughey's line, all right, improvised, but... another one of his lines is,
let me tell you this. The older you do get, the more rules are going to try to get you to follow. You just got to keep living, man. Livin.
And so his production company is JKL Productions.
Oh, very cool.
And I love that this movie is rated R for teen drug use and strong language. Don't want to be influencing the kids now. Better make it rated R.
Yep.
And when the upcoming seniors are building their paddles, the sleeping teacher in the woodshop class is a real teacher at the school they were filming who still works there.
Oh, very cool.
And as I said, Ben Affleck was a shitty guy in this movie. Such an asshole. But there's a scene where he gets really angry and he smashes his paddle. He accidentally broke his own ankle when he did that.
Oh my gosh.
He hit the cricket bat so hard on the ground, but it hit really close to his ankle, and he broke his ankle because of it.
Jeez. Nice job.
I had no idea.
Yeah, neither did I.
And this movie has a reference to one of my previous picks, and now you can understand the reference because the two nerdy guys in the class who aren't normally invited to parties, but Pink he seems like such a nice guy because Pink is friends with everybody and respects everyone, including these two nerdy guys, but he calls them Woodward and Bernstein.
Oh, yes.
I was just wondering if you caught that line this time.
I caught it. I don't know the reference, though. So
All the President's Men.
Oh.
You're slipping today.
I would not have put that one. I would not have gotten that one at all. Nope. As much as I loved All the President's Men, yeah, I would not have got that one.
Based on a true story. Amazing movie. Highly recommend. And funny enough, this movie actually contains more than one person who has a twin sibling. 3, in fact. So not only is it Jason London, but Parker Posey has a twin brother.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, weird.
And the girl with the super red curly hair who Wooderson hits on, that's Marissa Ribisi, Giovanni Ribisi's twin sister.
No way.
Mm-hmm.
I don't ever want to see Parker Posey's twin brother. Ever. Because Parker Posey's so gorgeous, I would have trouble.
Oh, now I'm going to sneak a picture via text to you one day. It'll be a long time from now. You'll never see it coming.
The whole hazing thing in this movie does crack me up because I never really went through anything like this. I didn't really go to high school in a small town. I think my town had like 200,000 people in it because it was one small suburb on top of like 18 other suburbs. But in my freshman year of high school, when I was on the swim team, my big brother did wake me up at 4:30 in the morning with other swim team member big brothers, which was the whole thing, like, oh, you have a little brother and a big brother, like they take care of you at the meets, they bring you Gatorade, and they like hype you up and stuff like
you
that.
Don't have a brother.
No, I don't.
Okay.
No.
Oh, got it.
So one morning I got woken up very loudly with pots and pans and getting squirted in the face with water and got makeup put on me and got thrown on a dress and a wig and was driven around Santa Clarita, California for several hours until Hometown Buffet opened up and they all took us to breakfast, the boys and the girls swim team. So all of us were there and all made up and wearing our weird costumes. So I guess that was the only hazing that I actually ended up enduring throughout my entire high school career, which was pretty fun. There's pictures of it somewhere. I'm sure my parents have it. If I can have them dig it up, I'll show you. Maybe post it on social media because they're very entertaining pictures.
Thankfully, that's quite tame for hazing, so that's good.
It was very tame, yeah, except for the lipstick all over my face because I broke out a little bit after that.
Yeah. Classic teen response.
Yep.
I actually specifically went to college that didn't have sororities.
Oh, cool.
I didn't want to have any part of that, so I'm really glad nobody tried to haze me when I was in sports in high school, actually.
I certainly could not have cared any less about getting into a fraternity. I also went to community college, so had I gone to Cal Arts like I dropped on you several episodes ago, maybe I would have I don't even know if they have fraternities at Cal Arts. Probably not. Probably animation fraternities or something like that, so who knows?
And I mentioned Varsity Blues earlier. Top Notch Burgers, the drive-in restaurant that they go to at one point in the movie, that is also a filming location for Varsity Blues.
Oh, cool. I've only seen that movie one time years and years ago. I don't remember much of it.
I saw it a bunch when I was in high school because I thought it was great. But I'm sure it does not hold up at all.
It may not. Might be time to revisit that one.
I remember John Voight being a psycho coach in it.
Yes. James Vanderbeek was in that one too.
So was Paul Walker.
Oh, wow.
And I know we like to do this. I know we like to do this with the word fuck, but for this movie, the word man is said 203 times.
Man, that's a lot.
The script is so great, though.
It is. It's very good.
It totally fits. It's good they use that the word that many times.
I feel like this was just one of those movies that was so easy to shoot that like everybody had a good time. I don't think anybody probably had a bad time making this movie.
Actually, Jason London and the guy who played Pickford hated each other so much they got into a fist fight that Richard Linklater had to separate them from.
Oh, wow.
And so by the end of the movie, there's a scene where Pink is in the car with a couple other people and Wooderson is driving. That was supposed to be Pickford.
Oh, no kidding.
Richard Linklater had to change the script because those two hated each other so much.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so strange when when you hear stuff like that on set, It's like, oh, yeah, they hated each other. They could not be next to each other.
Well, especially because they were young guys who were up and coming in the industry. They didn't have any credits behind them at all. Like, what the fuck do you have to fight about?
Exactly, yeah.
But otherwise, I heard great stories about the making of this film that, yes, everybody else did have a good time. And they had really fun with their costumes because once you had a costume fitting and you were decided on your costume, that was it because this movie only takes place in a day.
Oh, costume designer and the costume department was probably loving this shoot.
Yes, I totally agree. And this movie actually, I was surprised at how much the budget was because they had a $6.9 million budget.
Wow, nice.
Which is pretty good for an independent film.
Hell yeah.
But unfortunately, it only made $8.2 million.
Oh, damn. Maybe it was just a little bit ahead of its time when it came out in the 90s.
I think so, and also this became really popular with VHS once it was released, and so I think it could be considered a cult classic.
Oh, I would absolutely say that, yes. I remember seeing the VHS copy at Hollywood Video and Blockbuster all the time and just being like, ooh, because I loved the stony smiley face.
Yes.
And seeing Mila Jovovich on the cover. I think that was probably in 1995. I remember like going through comedy and seeing this and being like, ooh, who's the girl on the cover of this?
Oh, your
Even though
parents
she's
would
in the
not
movie.
want you to watch this film.
Oh, no, definitely not. No, not at all. But it was so long ago, and Mila Jovovich was much younger, and of course Fifth Element hadn't come out for another 4 years. So she was I remember. I'll never forget that. I'm like, who's this? And trying to figure out a way to see the movie, but never did until probably 2005, 2006. So I've only been watching it for about 20 years.
I just love watching older ensemble movies like this because then you can look back and pick out the now stars. And Matthew McConaughey, and when we talk about James McAvoy and Narnia, the people who become real stars are the ones who have this magnetism in their scene that you can't, no matter how many people are in that shot, you can't look away from them. And that's what happened with Matthew McConaughey in this movie as Wooderson. He was supposed to be this nothing side character, and the role actually grew because of how he was delivering his lines, because of how he was interacting with other actors. And I'm really happy that Richard Linklater noticed that and made him a bit more prominent in this film.
Oh, definitely.
And so that's Dazed and Confused, a wonderful snapshot of high school life. No matter what age you are, no matter what decade you grew up with, it's still relevant to this day. And I really like this conversation that Pink has with a friend of his towards the end of the movie about high school and their experience and how to look at it. And this is just such a wonderful perspective. I wanted to end the discussion of Dazed and Confused with this.
Well, all I'm saying is I just want to look back and say that I did it the best I could while I was stuck in this place. Had as much fun as I could when I was stuck in this place. Played as hard as I could when I was stuck in this place. Dogged as many chicks as I could when I was stuck in this place.
So I'm really glad you liked your revisit, John. I'm glad you enjoy this film. My sister Shannon introduced me to this movie back in the 90s, and I've been watching it off and on ever since. I don't watch it very often either, probably once every 5 to 10 years now, but it's really fun to revisit, like you said. It's an easy watch. It's a very chill movie. And rightly so. That's the whole point, right? And so I think it's a wonderful movie to watch when you're really stressed out or you've had a really long week or something crappy has happened and you just need to decompress and you need to unload. It's one of those movies like You've Got Mail, right? Where you can just relax with it. And that's, I think, is the best way to watch this film. And if you want to smoke some weed with it, please feel free.
Absolutely.
So that is Dazed and Confused. You can watch it right now if you have an Amazon Prime subscription. And John, I'm wondering if you would watch Pineapple Express with your grandma.
Oh, we did at least 3 times.
Awesome.
No, I'm kidding. No, we never did. No, it wasn't a movie that I would have shown to Grandma. Nothing that she would likely gravitate to. Even though my grandmother, towards the end of her life, was coming around to the idea of edibles and CBD and high THC edibles. So that was cool. But no, we never did watch a stoner comedy together. We normally would watch horror movies or documentaries towards the end of her life when she was taking an edible or two, and I would definitely have already smoked by the time I got there.
Nice.
And V, I'm curious if you have watched Dazed and Confused with your grandmother.
No. It's not a movie. Like, there's no sex in it at all, but it just...
I know, yeah.
Doesn't seem like a film that you could relate... It's so funny because my parents could watch this movie and totally relate to it and like it. We would watch this movie and totally relate to it and like it, but I can't imagine cross-generationally watching it together for some reason.
I can understand that.
But it's certainly consumable. I think anybody like 14 or 15 and above can watch this film.
Oh, absolutely. It's a light R rating. If it came out today, it would probably be PG-13.
They'd just have to drop a couple of the fucks and it would be a PG-13 movie without question, yeah.
Yep.
That's a very good point. And other than weed and alcohol, there is no additional drug use. There's no hard drugs used in this movie.
Nope, not at all.
So that is our Day in the Life of a Stoner episode. Thank you all so much for joining us. And John, do you want to tell everyone what we're doing next week?
Oh, yes, let's do it. Next week, we are jumping into our Father's Day episode. We asked our fathers to send us 3 movies that they would love to hear on the podcast, underrated, or movies that maybe V and I had not seen before. And our fathers certainly delivered. V, what choices did your father send you, and what did you pick out of the 3?
Well, I actually didn't have a choice because my father only sent me one.
Oh, well, all right then.
He was quite adamant, and he said that he picked this movie to embody our theme of underrated movies. He's wanted to have me watch it for quite some time. I've also wanted to watch this movie for years, and I've just never gotten around to it. So I'm actually really happy that he gave me this movie and insisted upon it, because I'm really excited to watch it. This is Haywire.
Oh, yes. I have been wanting to see it since it came out, too, so thank you, Mr. McClure, for adding this to our podcast repertoire. I'm excited to watch it.
So, John, did your dad give you any options?
He did, yes.
Oh, okay.
He sent me 3, yeah. He sent me Casablanca, which we've done already on the podcast.
We could do it again, though.
We totally could do it again.
I love that movie so much.
I'm sure I could find out. Yeah, I'm sure I could find other things to talk about that I didn't on the first go-around. So Casablanca was one. Thor Ragnarok was one of the other ones, which I know my dad loves that movie, so does my mom. Yeah, we just haven't gone the Marvel route yet. I know we will at some point, but I don't know. I know I suggested it like 2 years ago, and I was like, maybe we should do a Marvel episode, but then I was like, I don't know. I do like Thor Ragnarok. Maybe I'll throw my dad a bone later in the future, and we'll just have it on the podcast, but I decided to ask my father for 2 other options, and the other 2 options were The Boys from Brazil, which I'd never heard of.
You have heard of it because I've mentioned it several times on this podcast. That movie is badass.
Oh, okay. Well, I clearly don't remember, but that's awesome.
Are you
Maybe
having
I'll
a stroke?
choose that one.
Because your memory is really bad this episode.
I guess I don't know. Well, it is a stoner episode, so.
Oh, okay, that's right. You just got high before recording. Okay, now all is forgiven.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly what happened. And so, yes, Boys from Brazil was the other one. And oddly enough, my dad chose a horror movie with Gregory Peck, the original Omen film.
Ooh.
And I've never seen that one, so I'm going to go with The Omen because my dad chose a horror movie. And we're going to jump into horror early this year instead of in October.
And we're going in blind to both movies. This is exciting.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Should be fun.
The funny thing is, Gregory Peck is also in The Boys from Brazil.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
I will probably do Boys from Brazil in the future, or maybe it'll be one of your picks. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. It'll definitely be on the podcast at some point.
Sweet.
Well, I'm excited to do 2 totally different movies that have nothing in common with each other.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
Yeah. So that is our Father's Day episode next week. We hope you enjoy Father's Day this weekend with a father figure in your life. And until next episode, please follow us on social media and rate, review, and subscribe to our podcast on whatever service you prefer. And we like to close out our episodes with film is a form of art, and in art, every opinion is valid, except if you think
marijuana doesn't make movies better.
Either in the screen or in front of the screen, right?
Yep.
I respect your opinion.
All opinions are valid.
Yeah. No, I've never had a problem with weed. It's just not something I enjoy, but I've been around you enough times that it's fine.
Indeed, yes you have.
On top of growing up in Mendocino County.
There you go.
All right, everyone. Until next time, bye-bye.
Cheers, everybody.